Everyone has a story. Everyone has a defining moment. Let me let you in on the secret that led them to their goal. Their strength lies solely in their tenacity. Welcome to Tenacious Thoughts. I am your host, Kimberly, Tenacious T, Tocco. Everyone has a story. And the one thing that has pushed us through being able to overcome is our tenacity. Welcome to Tenacious Thoughts. In today's episode, we have the brilliant, immortal Jim Strole. Mr. Strole, please introduce yourself.
Well, hello, Kim. Thanks for having me on your show. I look forward to this.
Yes.
Of course, you already said my name, James Strole. I'm the director of the Coalition for Radical Life Extension. I'm also owner of the company called People Unlimited, Inc. here in town, here in Scottsdale.
For Radical Life Extension.
Radical Life Extension.
Which you've been pursuing for 50 years.
That's right.
50 years now. There's
That's
a
right.
lovely story that I've heard on almost every interview about your grandmother.
Oh.
Please briefly take us through that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's how I first, I'll say, had, you could call it an awakening to this great new, I'll say, journey.
Yes.
All right. So I was 11 years old, and I was very close to my grandmother. She was like a mentor to me, very beautiful person, a seeker in her own right, always looking for the newest thought or idea.
Yes.
And kind of, sharing thoughts with me. And short story is that she came down with cancer.
Yes.
And then I had to watch her, slowly deteriorate, and it was very, very painful. Then lost her. And at that time, like a lot of kids, until they see something like that or experiences it with somebody close to them, they don't understand what death really is. And so it was very painful for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was traumatic.
Yes.
So I asked my mother, who was also a seeker and so forth, and it was her mother that died. And I said, well, when do I get to see grandmother again? And she said, well, when you die and go to heaven. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, that didn't feel very good to an 11-year-old. You had to die to go see somebody.
No. Yeah.
So I didn't understand.
Oh, my God.
So not criticizing the concept, but hey, I said, well, why can't we have heaven here on earth?
Exactly.
And then, we won't have to die to see it. She said, that's a really good idea, but I don't know the answer to that. Why don't you pursue that? So that's how that started. And
which is so fascinating to me, because right there, looking at an 11-year-old and saying, well, when you die, it's proof of the overall death program
100%
that you speak of.
That's right.
Saying and, taking our young children to church and different things so that we feel good, yet at the same time, oh, but you're going to die. But don't worry, you're going to go to this heaven place when you die.
Right.
And that's not what you wanted. You wanted to pursue heaven here.
Heaven here. That's
heaven
right.
Here.
And I didn't argue with what was right or wrong with, anybody's belief. It's just that, hey, I think the most excellent thing would be us to have heaven here on earth. I did know, as I, expanded on this, that we create, I call imaginary immortalities because we want to live.
Yes.
And we do it to make death more palatable, more acceptable, more to have it's a comfort, it's to comfort us, because there seemed like no other way, right?
Right.
And so, but I took me on that journey, and a fantastic journey, very challenging journey.
Yes. So, 11-year-old boy, you get through high school. When did you just decide, okay, how am I going to figure this out? How am I going to figure out how to live forever? And who am I going to connect with to assist me?
Yeah. Well, at that point then, after Mother said that, it was implanted in me. I didn't understand consciousness or unconsciousness in that context, but it was planted in me. Mm-hmm. And she nurtured that, which is the great thing. Anybody that would come in town, a new speaker, etc., on almost any subject that had to do with some humanist issue, she would take me there. I also go to these small little churches, some of them out in Ajo, Arizona, a little place that were evangelists were there.
Yes.
I actually had an evangelist come up and prophesy over me one time. I went to religious places and also then just more secular places to hear people talk in different subjects. But this evangelist put his hand on me and prophesied. He goes, "You're going to be the pillar of the greatest church on earth," something like that. So,
yeah.
So everywhere I went, I had some type of a connection like that.
Yes.
And it just, I think I know you experienced this yourself.
Yes.
When you have something that's you're really passionate about, you draw to you.
Yes.
All kinds of experiences
Absolutely.
connected to that. And that's what happened. I got later, I was really fortunate that in high school, I got involved in integral yoga, which was
love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
And Sri Bendo. You might say it saved my life because when
Yes.
all my friends were doing drugs, many times some of them flatlining on it, others just out of it half the time. I could get high just by my thoughts and meditation.
High on his own supply.
Yeah, there you go. And my friends would say to me, they'd say, like we'd be sitting around talking, they'd be smoking a joint or something.
Yes.
And I didn't criticize them for that, but I tried it myself too.
Right.
But I could get higher without doing that.
Right.
Right. So I'd be speaking things, and they go, "What are you on?"
Well, it's interesting that you say that because there's a lot of plant medicines. There's ayahuasca and psilocybins, and I myself have avoided those.
Yes, I had to.
For the reason of we can naturally get to those places by discipline, by breath work, by sitting in silence.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and for me, some people may need those. I don't, condemn those. There's some great remedies in that level, right?
Different traumas.
But for me, it was like I was already feeling this contact with my body and this, you might say, spiritual awakening in my person. And I didn't want to sabotage that.
Right.
I was told by my teacher in integral yoga, said, "Be careful what you do, along these lines of anything that is you would take into your body, because you could, sabotage this experience you're having."
Absolutely.
So I was also aware of that in my person. So when guys would offer me stuff at school, I'd go, "No, thanks." Most of the time. Once in a while, I do. I drink. Yeah, I do but I was careful on that level, and I'm grateful today for those experiences and being involved in integral yoga. No, I don't know if you know, but the head of integral yoga, his name was Sri Aurobindo. And the reason I got this is pretty extraordinary. Back in the 60s,
yes,
he was a yogi that was moving to draw all the other yogis of India together. He was like the Abraham Lincoln of India.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, he wanted to bring everybody together to use their enlightenment to create a super body that would not die.
Yes.
So that really
the
resonated with me,
body.
of course.
Yeah.
And all the other yogis were arguing fundamentally over who had the most enlightenment. He said, what do we have all this enlightenment for if we're not going to use it for some great purpose?
Right.
This is what his whole theory was. So I always drew to me, connections like that through my life.
Yes. I want to say a quote real quick. "The first gulp from the glass of natural science will turn you into an atheist, but at the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you." So in a lot of ways, the journey to understanding, the enlightenment within, the light within, we have to let go of all of those old beliefs, all of the programming in which the world has put into us, and really do our own research, because aren't we a piece of the all-knowing, the all-consciousness? I would love for you to expand a little bit on this beautiful story. A couple years ago, you've gone through this years and years. You're in your 70s now. You've been fighting for the immortal lineage. You've been trying to teach people how to come into the light within themselves, combining your education with science and different partners in science to allow the body to live longer. But there's another little thing that happened to you just a couple years ago that helped you step out of, again, the death program.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, it was a pretty big thing for me. It impacted me very, very strongly. So, I was at a point 2 years ago. I'd been working, like you said, in this field for 50 years.
Yes.
And I'd seen a lot of great things and also seen a lot of very traumatic things.
Yes.
Particularly during the pandemic, friends die, a lot of people getting sick. And plus the condition of the polarization of this world right now.
Yes.
And I really thought, still that, okay, we're going to be able to bring about this era of immortality and why I'm alive. But at the same time, I had a lot of associates around, even in the longevity community, beginning to doubt.
Yes.
And then I also saw people struggling a lot in the community. And some people saying, oh, it's not going to be in our lifetime they're going to be able to bring this about. And I thought, wow, I shouldn't want to pass the terror of death, the horrible, I'll say, tyranny of aging that plagues us, you know. By the way, it's funny what I want to say when you say I'm in my 70s. Won't it be a great time when we don't even relate to age anymore?
Yes,
that time is coming.
Exactly,
that time is coming.
Exactly.
Where we won't even relate to age because we're going to feel fresh just all the time. And we won't identify. We pigeonhole each other in those situations, right? Sometimes, but I don't even.
I like saying it because you look so youthful.
Oh, thank you.
You know, and I think it's important for people to understand.
Well, it is. In that context, I'm not ashamed of it at all. I'm happy. I've been here 76 years actually. You know, so it's exciting to feel as good as I do, and I'm thankful for it.
Yes.
So I came to this point a little over 2 years ago that I felt like I didn't know if I would be able to continue forward, knowing what it would take. I began to see what it would take. And few people understand that. They'll say, "Oh, I'm going to live 120 years. I'm going to have 140. It's great, you know," but they really don't understand what it's going to take to do that.
Yes.
What we're going to see.
Yes. And
what we're going to experience. We're going to see a lot of great things. We're going to see a lot of horrible things. You're going to see possibly close friends that you'll lose because, you know, of their own path that they took. And you're going to see a lot of things happen in the world that we're already seeing. So it's going to take a lot more resilience and strength that I felt I had at the time.
Right.
I had strength. I felt healthy. But I felt like this is going to need something supernatural.
Right.
You know, to walk this path.
Exactly.
So I started just having what I called a travail, in that just an innermost, my innermost being was like crying out for something more.
You were questioning. You were stagnant. You were like, how do I keep going? Right. How do I step out of this? What am I missing here?
That's right. I feel I'd made great friends and contacts, but I wasn't making the contact I wanted to make, not even with myself.
Yeah.
I thought, you know, so I began to, like I said, go into this travail, and it went on for several days. And one night I said, I got to get my mind off of this, because I couldn't get my mind off of it, and which was a good thing in retrospect. But so I started watching. I thought, I'm going to watch a movie on Netflix. So I started flicking through the movies, and all of a sudden there popped up this series called Chosen.
Yes.
Okay, and it was a crowdfunded story, very supposedly, well, it is accurate story of the life of Jesus, as accurate as they could get it by historical accounts. So I always had a connection with Jesus when I was younger in that context, but I completely kind of walked out of religion, per se, the traditional religion, and had gone into more, I'll say, for me, progressive areas of my life. So, So I hadn't even thought about how this experience would happen, that I needed to happen. Right. But you know, again, you draw to you what you need. So here I am watching this. I turned it on. I thought, oh, this is probably another religious propaganda story.
Yeah, just another Jesus
story.
Yeah.
But when I started watching it, it was very profound. It was very humanistic. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it yet, but they made the disciples and him, like people. Regular people, and that's how I connected to Jesus, a person, not some ethereal being and some untouchable person or somebody you just idolize outside yourself.
Yes.
But I, even as a child, I felt close to him, in my own person. So anyway, so this actor, who's a really great actor, but it wasn't just his acting, although he was really good, started putting out words, started saying the words of Jesus. I actually was in bed, but it took me back on my pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I could feel the energy of that in my body. I thought, well, what is this? What is this? I said, am I just having probably just some inspiration in a moment, which I could use at that point?
Yes.
So, but
I do want to interject.
Yes.
That
just jump in anytime.
Science has proven that we actually maintain the trauma energy of at least 14 generations within our DNA.
I believe that totally.
So if science can prove that, what can the esoteric world say about our DNA and our memory cells and what is transferred? If we think about a 2-year-old who's playing Beethoven, is that a savant or is that a memory?
There you go.
A memory from past lives.
Exactly.
And Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, thank you for saying that, because I think I've said this many times, that there is a strand, and in one context, we're a sum total of every human being that's ever lived is recorded in our bodies.
Yes.
You know,
the Akash.
Yes,
Some people call it
that's
the
why
Akash.
sometimes people think they've had another lifetime maybe, when actually that memory is in their bodies of that. But that's a whole other topic, right?
Yes.
So then. Yeah,
So this was triggered.
Yes,
I'd like to say memory on your DNA was triggered by the words of the Savior.
Yes, I think how I identify with it, because I thought then, even when I went to sleep, I felt I felt lighter in my body. You know, I've been carrying the burden of this mission in my body and trying to save the world consciousness on some level.
Yes.
So I woke up, so I thought, okay, this is great to feel this and going to sleep, but I'll probably wake up in the morning, feel the same. You had these inspirational moments.
Sure.
But I woke up in the morning feeling a lightness in my body I had never felt. And I felt this energy moving through me, a new energy I'd never felt before.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an energetic guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can feel it.
But before that, this is something different.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't just like a buzz type thing. It was like a new energy, and my person thought, oh, wow. And so I thought, okay, there's a connection between what happened and that message that Jesus was saying that, to me, awakened that, in my body, and I connected it to an actual new lineage that he created.
Yes.
And because he said at that time, I came to bring something new, not the old.
Right.
And they couldn't understand it then. I say, bless their hearts, because they were so programmed.
Yes.
And their dogmas and their creeds,
sure.
they just felt he was just upsetting everything.
Yeah.
Although they were drawn to him.
Yeah.
Right. So, but for me, it was like, but regardless of what happened there, okay, the story goes, and there's different stories, but the story
which
there
we're going to dive down. We're going to dive down that.
Yes. And he, but they didn't crucify the energy.
Correct.
They couldn't.
Right.
He already made that impact in human beings, and he was like I call him the Roger Bannister of death. He was like Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile barrier. Jesus broke the death barrier at that time. Okay?
Yes.
And that's everything he was speaking about: eternal life in the flesh. Touching me on flesh and bone.
What's interesting is most people who are listening to this or watching this will say, "Oh, well, you were saved by Jesus." Mm-hmm. But I'd like to draw a hypothetical situation, if you will. His mother, Miriam.
Right.
Let's say she was also a very high frequency being. But at the time, women were not seen or viewed as really anything but the mother, the caretaker, as maybe being a channel to God. They weren't seen that way, or a channel to everlasting life.
That's right.
So in order for her to bring this frequency, this higher frequency of everlasting life, let's just say that she poured her own soul into birthing a child. Now, we won't even go down the Immaculate and the Virgin. We'll just say she poured herself into bearing this child, a male child, who could also represent this high frequency. And Yeshua, I like to say the name Yeshua, because that was his birth name. It's said a little differently. Jesus, however you want to say it. Yeshua also carried this high frequency, but being a male, was able to show this to the world because males were listened to. Now, they fled to Egypt, and we know the Essenes in Egypt were mystics. They studied the alchemy. They did not follow the religion. They didn't follow really any religion. They actually believed in immortality. Mm-hmm. The Egyptians obviously believed in immortality. And a lot of people say that the ancient Egyptians were actually the society even before the Atlanteans. They were living hundreds, if not thousands of years. So we have this man who was born in a high frequency, had the high frequency already activated within his body because of his mother. And as he grew, more and more people saw what he was doing and also lent their energy into following him, learning him. You teach this. Community is part of immortality.
Right.
Like little batteries, we attach each other. And you notice that every single story, everywhere Jesus went, his mother, his aunt, and Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, another woman. These three women were with him at all times, empowering him. Yeah. He never went back to his hometown to perform miracles because in his hometown he didn't have the community. He tried, but the community didn't have faith in him, didn't lend their energy to him.
You know, familiarity breeds contempt, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. He grew up with them. How could he be the savior? Or how could he be who they claim him to be?
And like someone like you, who throughout his whole life has been teaching immortality, also came with scrutiny.
Right.
With, people not exactly understanding or even relating to what you were saying in the beginning.
Right.
So here we have Yeshua, who's building this huge community, and of course, the Jews, the Romans, they all see what's happening. He's pulling their people away from them, the people that they use to stay in power because they're run by power.
Right.
Religion is the oldest running MLM in the world. Religion is the oldest running business in the world.
It is.
And if you lose your power of being able to bring people in, you also lose your power of energy.
I heard a comment, I wanted to just insert something the other day that was really good, that this guy said, and he was an ex-priest, he said, hell is the greatest tool ever created by religious world.
Yes.
To dominate people in fear. Yeah.
So they wanted to obviously kill Jesus to stop him from doing that. But Jesus, being an enlightened being and time being something made up just for humans on the planet, I believe he had the premonitions, knowing what was going to happen. So in that 40 days, he prepared himself to be able to take himself to the very edge of death, yet heal back and not die. Okay. So you notice on the cross how they actually died on the cross with suffocating in their own lungs. Their lungs would fill with fluid. Their arms were above their head. You notice that the three women were there at all times. They never left his side. The soldier gave him a sponge of wine, some wine to his lips, and poked his rib cage, which fluid and water came out. So on a Friday, they hung him on the cross for the crucifixion. On Saturday, they watched him die, and by that night, they put him in the tomb. But Sunday morning, it was rolled away. That's not 3 days. That's maybe 48 hours, which again, the three women, who were the first women that proclaimed him to have been, they rolled that away. They knew how to use energy and community to heal thy flesh. And now we're at a point, if we believe that Yeshua actually survived and was with Mary Magdalene, the bloodline, the energy, not only is passed through his belief and his word, but the bloodline. Maybe now on the planet there's enough of us who have lived that are now waking up to the memory in the DNA to be immortal.
Right. Well, wow. Thank you for sharing all that. That's quite a, it's interesting. That's, in essence, a beautiful story.
Yes.
There's, as you know, there's quite a few different stories. How I actually feel about all of it is like, in one sense, what really matters is that something happened powerful.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
We try to describe exactly what it is. There's different opinions in it. I had a person say to me when I first had this experience and I was relating it, they said, well, how do you know that's the way it was? That's what that history says. It could be this way. Right. And I said, you know what? In essence, it doesn't matter to me because something happened.
Yeah,
powerful,
I love that.
Okay?
Love that.
And I think that's an important point for all of us. And you, as you know, going out into the world, you can get into these debates with people.
Sure.
I'm not out to debate them what happened. I'm out to say to them, no matter what happened, something special took place supernaturally that shifted the DNA in the body, his body and ours, planted this immortal seed, and that is what's I'll say the abundance and the glory of this story. Yes. Right?
And that has flourished.
No matter where any of us come from.
Yes.
Because too often people are arguing about how it happened.
Yes.
Rather than looking at like the child the father who points at the moon, the child looks at the finger, thinks this is the moon, right?
Yeah.
But we're actually pointing out here to a whole different thing.
Yes.
So we have to keep that in mind all the time. But I like that whole story.
So
it could be very real.
So even after they got rid of Jesus, they noticed that they could not get rid of his energy, his spark that you explained, the igniting of, some call it the Kundalini, some call it the Christos, right? So how do you take down a legend? You incorporate the legend within your own story.
There you go.
And that's how Christianity began.
That's right.
Not saying it was a bad thing, but saying that, well, we have to keep these people coming back to us. What do? They love him so much, they're not letting go of it. Let's create something.
Yeah, you're totally right. It wasn't even bad or good. It was about the indoctrination at the time.
Yes.
I mean, there's always some evil twist maybe with some people,
Sure.
but overall,
Power, greed.
but overall, they were just so programmed, and we face the same thing today.
Yes.
Anything new that comes out, there's extreme doubt, criticism for a while until it's proven. Then everybody says, "I knew it was true."
Right.
But this is what we deal with. It's very strongly programmed in the human nature. It's hard to really experience one's own divinity.
Yes.
Much less to actually get deep enough to understand what's really going on in your own body.
Yes.
And as Jesus said, to be able to rightly divide, to be able to tell the difference between what's really real and what's not real.
Right.
And this is the issue we're facing a lot in this world now. People have lost their ability, for the most part. Not everybody, but a lot of people, enough, have lost their ability to actually rightly divide what's really real, what's good, what's productive, what's alive, and what's not, what's dead.
Yes.
And he wanted us to be able to be in touch, because Jesus said, I've come to awaken the soul.
Yes.
And so
to show you the way.
Yeah, and show the way. So bring the kingdom here on earth. But yet this is the big dilemma, right? Because how can you, when people have this deep program that they did, he's saying all these new things at the same time,
right?
And that's been imposed upon them or programmed in them, like you said, for thousands of years.
2,000 years.
They have these memories,
not longer.
And now you want me to change on a dime. You want me to throw away all my books, but he wasn't saying throw away the books. He was saying let's have a new book. Let's have a living word to come out of each other's bodies.
Yes.
And so that's what's exciting to me.
Yes.
And so in it all, I think I agree with you 100% that we're now in the era that this new life is coming forth and it's unstoppable. Because it's not just in one person, it's in many this time.
And that's what's so fascinating to me. Again, I truly believe that we can have visions, premonitions, we can have a knowing of what is going to happen. And ladies and gentlemen, we're on the last chapter.
That's right, we are.
It has been 2,000 years, and Yeshua knew it would take this much time in order to ignite what I like to call the God spark, that spark within, so that people are finally like, wait a minute. I don't want to go somewhere outside of me to experience heaven. Why can't I experience heaven right here? I can experience heaven right here because I feel it now. They feel it now, and they're becoming more aware. And you are one of the leading, I'm going to say, members of that, because you've been doing it for so long, and you've had this awakening, this spark. Tell us how you're feeling that shift and what's happening in your world.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And I genuinely feel that with you too.
Thank you.
There's an anointing that happens.
Yes.
And that's really what that spark is. It's an anointing. So, Jesus said too, we will quicken your body from mortal to immortal. So there's a quickening. That's really what I experienced 2 years ago. I experienced a quickening that took me to a new place. I actually moved from over here at Jim to over here.
Yes.
People in our room, the people, limited people and around me, they said, "Who are you?" I actually had some people come up to me at first, almost like scared. What happened? Where did you go?
Right.
They loved what they were feeling from me because I was more connected, more loving, more passionate than ever. And I was always a heart person. But more me.
Yes.
This really brings out the real you,
yes.
right? And so I'd also like to explore with you one other thing, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure.
And that is this whole thing about around God and so forth.
Yes.
Because I think this would be a great topic a little bit for us, and I want to get your feedback on this. So what I heard Jesus saying and what resonated with me is that the Father and I are one.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Yes. So was he saying, of course, he couldn't just come out during those times and say that he was
God,
but he finally did in some level, but that's one of the reasons they called him,
yes.
a
the
false
Trinity,
prophet, and,
false prophet,
vilified him at
Yes.
every level. But he also said, I'm not here to rule this kingdom, your kingdom. I'm not here to take over Rome. I'm here to take over the consciousness of death.
Yes.
So that kingdom. So, but, I took a course one time in college called Greek mythology, and I saw through that whole thing. This is where I want to get your feedback. I saw that through that whole deal, that every era we studied, okay, whether it was clear back to the Greek, to the Vikings, you name it, all had their own god.
Yes.
All right? And then going back right to the beginning, where before when men were still, human beings were still nomads, okay, they worshipped, different spirits. But then when the first actually civilized god,
Yes.
okay, was the sun.
Yes.
That they were there. Because we stopped having to hunt all the time. We wanted to not be nomads all the time, human beings.
Right.
So they created a way to grow crops so they could stay stationary. So what made the crops grow? The sun.
The sun.
Right? So they worship the sun. And down through history, I've seen that through that man's always created the God dependent upon his need.
Yes.
Never getting that the real divine creator is us, is our bodies. This is what I'm experiencing. Okay? It's not like we're just gods under our own and gods over each other, and not like that. It's not even maybe it's even getting out of the God consciousness,
right?
And experiencing just the beautiful divinity of who we are, and that the same energy that's in us has actually created the universe.
Yes.
And it's like we're exchanging this energy in all these new ways. So, but anyway, I'm saying that to say that we constantly are putting this power outside ourselves. That's the bottom line, okay, for me. It's not about whether there's really a God or not. It's that we constantly put our power outside ourselves.
Right.
I think Jesus was the first man that ever said, I'm it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that really made people upset, right?
It did.
It made people upset.
Well, they
because,
took him out.
Because they were in that God consciousness, and he thought it was total blasphemy.
Yes.
When really what he was saying was such a beautiful thing, Finally claiming the divinity of his own body, somebody spoke up and really got out of their ego about it.
Yep. I have a spiritual teacher many years ago that gave me a concept that really helped me understand. Everything is energy. Energy is everything. We know this. Energy is just moving at a particular rate to become a solid matter, right? So in the beginning, there is a consciousness. But this consciousness can only conceptualize love, death, sorrow, happiness, life, joy. So what does the consciousness do? It fractals itself in tiny little droplets of souls.
Wow.
In which we are.
Yes.
How are we God? We are God because we are all fractaled pieces of God. And the more of us that come together and understand, the more puzzle pieces that are put together, the more solid the face of God is. Innately, we're looking for leadership because we've been programmed to look for it, rather than understanding that the God spark is right inside.
Right.
And when we created this earth, because being human is our favorite thing to be, it was perfect to sustain life forever. But there's also the caveat of being human.
Right.
We're born with amnesia, and we're born with free will.
There you go.
So it's almost like a game in a lot of ways. And I believe we're on the third reset. There was the reset of, Noah and Moses, and let's just take, the Great Flood, reset again. Yeshua came to show us, hey, guys, you're going to have a chance for another reset. And I'm going to give you the key. I'm going to give you the knowledge. I'm going to ignite the spark in the DNA that will shift the DNA and help you remember and help you age backwards, which will now be activated because enough of us God particles are now together saying, oh, well, now we can do this. There's enough of us here. Enough of us that's spread all over the earth.
Yeah, that's like, no wonder I had this synchronicity with you from the beginning, because I used to always say, I haven't said it for a while because you move into different things, but I still feel the same way, that God is a sum total of all that we collectively are together.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's a collective energy.
Yes.
It's not just something that is, we have this one God that we worship. It's a sum total of all that we are collectively together. And I guess that's kind of like the droplet thing.
Absolutely. And what, another tangible, I love tangible proofs, right?
Physical thing. I'm very physical.
So our little history together, I went to high school with your son.
I know.
And I met you when I was 15. And
Wow.
your son and I don't know, we decided to go to California one day. Wrong idea.
I know. You upset everybody.
Yeah, we did. We were kids. It was the 80s. So,
Yeah.
One day he's like, hey, let's go have sushi on Sunset Boulevard. Okay. So that's what
Okay.
we did. But we got caught in this and that. I haven't seen you in 38 years.
Yeah.
The first time I saw you was last week. Yet here we are with the same,
I know.
maybe different words, but the same exact
Spirit.
understanding
Same understanding. That's right.
of what is happening.
That's the power of this lineage. That's the power of
Yes.
this life. It's so powerful in the context that time is not a
Right.
thief with it.
Right.
It's like the old saying, time is a thief, but this energy is timeless and it's ever expanding, and that's the power of our connection.
And there's no stopping it.
That's right.
And we're finally at an age where humans understand energy. Humans are finally being able to understand how do we live forever, and that forever can possibly be here on earth.
That's right.
In paradise.
That's right.
As it has been written.
I think everybody needs to start asking themselves, why don't we live forever?
Right.
All right?
Right.
Instead of, can we live forever? Why isn't? What has blocked it? I mean, there's
Yes.
species of animals that actually, lobsters, jellyfish, that actually are immortal.
And can regenerate.
And only die. They only die of an accident. They don't die from disease. They don't die from maybe certain pollutions we have in the ocean or whatever. But other creatures live. Those creatures live a lot longer than we do. The blue whale. So why don't we should be asking the question, why don't we have these extended lifespans? Instead of questioning it, we need to bring Dr. Bill Andrews, a geneticist who's one of the top longevity scientists in the country. He says it's just a quirk, and we need to unravel what that quirk is. Because we shouldn't be having these limited lifespans, because for one thing, we never get to know who we really are.
Yep.
We're always in survival. None of us really understand the depth of who we really are as
100%.
even as human beings, because of the
100%.
terror, because of the survival this aging thing puts us into.
Mm-hmm. And it's that is the true pandemic. And,
It is. It's true pandemic.
It
That's
is.
right. That's right.
We get into a place of suffering and judgment, and I lost my own child to suicide, and
Yes, I know.
I myself have thought many times, and that seems to be, how do we even want someone to go the next 5 minutes, let alone forever? And it is the pursuit of returning the planet how it was. It is the pursuit of. The celebrity shouldn't be worshipped either. The billionaire shouldn't be worshipped either. We're supposed to serve and care for each other. It is through service and caring we have an opportunity to bring us back to that level through science now.
Exactly. Yeah, to the point of celebrities and the wealthy. They're who they are, but it's so indicative of our world that we have these type of idols when most of them are in constant turmoil themselves.
Yes.
They get to a certain amount of wealth and they wonder, what else is there? They feel empty. I mean, it shows it. So I have some very wealthy friends. They'll say that exact thing. Well, I got all this money finally. Now what is it? What do I do? So
They're
some
bored.
of them are getting turned on to super longevity, but it's a slow process because they've given their whole life to creating their immortality around money.
And I think that's the trick. We need to find that quick turn on.
That's right.
Rather than having to slowly get them to that place. And again, the DNA in the body is activated now since COVID.
Yes.
I truly believe that a lot of what happened with COVID was those polarity powers that be understanding that the Christos light is now activated. And how do we take it down? Like they took Yeshua down back then, they take us down because we are the second coming.
Wow.
So how do we come together? Something you're doing now.
Yeah.
You have twice a week meetings. You have retreats. You have the world's largest. I'm sorry. Let me get my notes. Wait. Largest super longevity event, the Rad Fest.
That's right.
Yeah, for 10 years.
That's right.
And again, she is in a separate dimension, but she's still with us. Your business partner, Bernadine.
Yeah, Bernadine.
Yeah, please touch on that. Oh, and I have a quote from her real quick. I think I was watching one of her videos, and she said, "Live long enough to live forever."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she loved that.
Yeah, live long enough to live forever. Yes.
Wow. We were talking about. I think you might have been there that particular day that we were talking about Bernie in the event. And Joe, her intimate living, made the comment that he could find no meaning in her death.
Right.
And that so touched me because we should never find a meaning in death, but we sometimes try to, obviously, because it's a comfort sometimes, or but there is real no meaning in it.
Right.
It's a total loss. She was a vibrant, just beautiful person in every way. Loved living. It just shouldn't have happened. She actually contracted breast cancer in 2014. She lived 8.5 years from that, just totally vibrant. Never downtime, never anything. And then the last year and a half began to, fade. There was other issues going on.
Yes.
Starting to, with age and so forth. And it's important to say that I think, and I spoke this last night. You probably heard me say it, that I'm an immortalist.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not religious. I'm an immortalist.
Right.
That's an identity. Okay.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not saying that I have broken the physical barrier of death. I'm not saying that I'm actually physically immortal now. No one yet has broken that barrier.
Right.
And I think that's part of what enabled you to come to what you're aware of. Bernadine, though, beginning with you, what got you started? What prompted you to believe and to know, as you say, that there is physical immortality and that you are practicing that?
Right. I had a deep desire to live, and I heard of an individual saying that the physical body didn't have to die. And when I heard that, it was like, that's the sound of me. It's like I finally heard something that gave me a real purpose for being on the planet.
I wanted more from, ever since I can remember, I wanted more out of life. And so that's what physical immortality is about to me. Being totally alive. It's a quality of living. Who wants to live in some decrepit state or to some depressed state? So physical immortality is being totally alive. And that's something that you can't stereotype, you can't just get a belief about or create a philosophy about, because that's where we start making rules about how to be alive then. Yeah. Being alive, there's no
way to distinguish.
Exactly.
Do it.
Exactly. There's no rules as such, other than really determining or making a personal decision for me that I'm going to be here forever with other people who want to be here forever. You might say it's the collective energy of moving together. You talk a lot about creating one world. I think, again, unless there's a condition here that we begin to clean up, and that's the human condition,
Okay. Live beyond. But that's important to get because, but that doesn't mean my mindset, my whole body is in line, okay, with unlimited life.
Yes.
And it's so important what you align yourself with. Mm-hmm. So I use the analogy of when NASA went to the moon, the director of the project was asked, "Do you think you're going to make it?" And he said, "I'm already there."
Right.
Okay. So that's what I said.
Yes.
That's the whole concept.
Yes.
Right now, it's so important because when we move from as you know, the foundation of abundance and aliveness, and we already see ourselves there, everything we do works better.
Yes.
Okay. If you take a supplement, a vitamin, if you take a nice cup of bone broth or whatever it might be, where it works better in your body because you're actually saying to your body, yes, I'm here to stay. You're sending those signals to your mind, to your body,
programming
and then your body begins to align that way.
Yes,
that's the issue we face in this world, really around aging and death, is people are aligned with death.
Yes.
And so what I'm out to do is give them a not fight with their alignment, not fight with them about it, but to say, hey, you can align yourself with life, and even if you don't live as long as you want to live, you're going to have a better, more abundant, more joyous life.
Yes. And interestingly, miraculous healing, all of those group prayers.
Right.
Because those are people coming together in the same mindset.
That's right.
And transferring their energy into that concept reversing those circumstances through energy.
That's right.
Energy is everything, and everything is
100%.
energy. There is no reason why we can't allow that to happen within the body.
That's right.
And that is what you're trying to accomplish. And isn't it strange to think it could be just as simple as us just coming together?
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah. It is simple.
Stop the ego, stop the battle, stop the he said, she said, I'm better, this, that, the other thing. Just Come here. Hold
Yeah.
my hand.
Yeah.
Love each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
we live forever.
That's right. That is a simplicity of it. But the issue is, okay, that I like to kind of comment about a little bit on that, is that as long as we're born into, and I mentioned this last night again, we're born into a mortal program.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Our parents conceived us from a sperm and an egg, okay? And that brought us into this world. And thank goodness for that, because we wouldn't have a chance that's a beautiful thing, because we wouldn't have a chance to be where we're at right now.
Yeah.
But there's a second birth. And without that second birth, you are, I'll use the term prisoner of the program, of the death program. This isn't your parents' fault or anybody. This has just been down through time, okay? And we're subject to the evolutionary process of that. And evolution is about the survival of the species, not the survival of you and I.
Right.
It will sacrifice you and I for the species, and it has done that all the way along. So that has to be broken, because if it isn't broken, no matter, it was never going to be the peace you're talking about, because we're always coming from that survival program. And that's what that program is not meant for us to have peace. It's meant for us to struggle through and keep the species going.
Survival of the strongest.
This is so important to get. But then there's a second birth. And that is the birth, what I explained, of the spirit of immortality, the sperm, okay, that Jesus from, and the egg, that potential, that seed of life that's in our bodies coming together. That's the quickening. Then that's the conception that can happen when you receive that. It's already in your body.
Yeah.
Just like when you came,
it's there.
When your birth from your parents, the egg was there, the sperm was there. This is very physical. This is very real.
Yes.
This spirit, this immortality, the sperm of spirit of immortality, penetrating this cell, the cells of the body, this immortal potential. Then comes a whole new awakening, reborn into another world.
Yes.
And that world is the immortal lineage. And that world takes us into the kingdom.
Yes.
And then when we're in the kingdom together, we're not going to. There's none of that struggle in there. There's none of that, and that's where we really meet. We don't meet in our different genetics. They never had, no matter how hard we try.
No. And when you speak of the kingdom, you're speaking of the body.
Yes, I'm speaking of the body.
Yes.
To be really distinct in it, I'm speaking that Jesus said about the kingdom, bringing the kingdom on earth. Okay, so when you have surrendered, I use that term, where you've had that conception of that sperm and that immortal seed in your body, then it's taken you into this immortal lineage. You've walked in, and consequently into the kingdom where we all live.
Yes.
Then together.
Yes.
That's where we can have this peace, this real consideration of each other, because then we're the same lineage.
Yeah.
We understand this. And it's not only in the mental understanding, it's a biological experience for us. We experience, oh, wow, you're the same lineage. I'll be destroying my own body.
Right.
And so that consciousness has changed. The consciousness, the conscience has got to change.
Yes.
So when that happens, then we connect in a communion of each other rather than just conversation.
Yes.
And that's the power of it. And we're going to then, and I told somebody, I said, like, well, so you're a mansion then in this kingdom. Jesus said
many
mansions in my kingdom.
Yes.
So the kingdom is like, using metaphorically, is this place that we all move to. It's actually a physical movement.
Yes.
It's like a location.
It is.
Okay. We moved out from the mortal program into the immortal program.
Yes.
And that's the kingdom then.
Yeah.
And then we're all mansions in that kingdom.
Yeah.
So
because a lot of people like to think about Matrix or video game that we're in. Well, okay, guys, if we're in a video game, it's time to shift into the video game that never ends.
Exactly.
The video game that. So now we're going to go into the famous questions.
Okay.
If you ever watched In the Actor Studio with James Lipton, you will kind of recognize some of these questions. Okay. But we want to use the subject of being immortal. Okay. So I like to ask these questions because it really digs out something from the inside. Okay. So again, thinking of immortality, what is your favorite word?
Ooh, wow. Oh, I have so many of those, but you want me to pop out right off the bat?
Yes.
Okay.
Your favorite word?
Endless.
Endless. Love it. Love it. Love it. And then this might be obvious, but what is your least favorite word?
Death.
Yes, death. Love that. Love that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this particular question, I think this will be really important for the listeners too. First thing in the morning, your eyes are beginning to flutter open. What is the turn on to want you to step up out of bed and continue this pursuit?
That I'm alive.
Yeah. that the first thought?
Yeah. I wake up and I wake up. I mean, Alonzo, I say this. She wakes up slow and until she has maybe a cup of coffee or something.
Yes.
You don't talk to her.
I'm one of those.
But she's not in a bad way. But I wake up going like, wow,
Yeah.
And just excited to be alive and just it's a feeling. I think the best way to express it is like, okay, well, I rested well and I'm here.
Would you say gratitude?
Yes, gratitude. I do go out. One of the first things I do is I go outdoors and open my arms up to the sun, feel the warmth of the sun, especially if it's a warm, sunny day.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of those here, right? We've had plenty of warmth lately,
Yes.
but yeah, I love to do that, and I also do several different stretching exercises when I first wake up. They're very different. What I do what's called the rooster.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, you'll have
yes.
to send me a little clip so I can put it on here.
Yeah, I've done it. I mean, you know how roosters go out in the barnyard, and it's like they're puffing up their chest, and they have their fans back here. And it's really good for your kidneys too. Mm-hmm. And so I breathe at the same time deep. And
yes.
I'm puffing out my chest, and I don't do the cock-a-doodle-doo.
Well, you should. Maybe that'll help.
I have a couple of times, and neighbors start looking over the wall.
So same along the same lines. What is your turn off?
Oh, you mean when I first wake up?
No, in a day. So we know what your turn on is. Your turn on is waking up and opening your eyes and being grateful. But what is a turn off? What is something that happens or something that someone says that makes you be like, ooh, I have to step away from that because I want to stay in this particular zone?
Interesting enough for me, and I was talking about this a little bit last night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have those anymore.
Oh,
that's one of that's one of the things that left me.
I love that.
But I was a person. Genetically a worrier.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And before 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have, I recognize this even the last few days, and I was speaking about in the meeting, that I don't have this thing about getting turned off by anything through the day. I mean,
we need that class.
and
organize the class.
and I see, you see horrible things happening.
Yeah.
Or you hear horrible things happening.
Yeah.
And I'll see them, but it's like Jesus said, like don't look at the troubled waters.
Right.
And how can you not look at the troubled waters if you're in them, though, right?
Right.
And so I'm not in them. And so that's, I was just feeling, when you have these realizations sometimes, where you realize, I'm in this new place. That's kind of like it was. I don't have these turnoffs. I heard some really bad news yesterday about a friend that is dying of cancer all of a sudden.
Sure.
And I thought, and it did affect me, of course. I feel deeper. Also, what's great is I feel deeper empathy and feeling for human beings than ever before.
Yeah, we do.
But again, I'm not, because you're feeling more because we're awakened, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have this because I'm not looking at troubled waters, or I'm walking on them, like Jesus said.
Yes.
That I don't have that impact of going like ruin my day or something.
Would you say that's because you fully stepped into the observation of life and observing different aspects of it so that you can continue to sustain your mental mindset of immortality?
Yeah, I think there's a certain reality in that. I see these things. It's not like I don't see them. I'm not running from them, and but they're immediately put in a perspective. Like what hit me yesterday when I heard this news. It was pain. I could feel the pain.
Yeah.
I think that's very.
We have to feel. We have to let it flow through.
I can feel the pain. The same time, my body immediately responded like that. That I always say this lineage wants a voice.
Yes.
It's been silenced for so long.
Yes.
And this divinity wants that voice.
Right.
And it said to me, my body said to me, okay, you felt now move forward.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Yeah.
Do the next great thing, because we don't realize sometimes the best thing we can do for anybody we've lost or anybody that's going through something is create the best living we can create in this world.
Yes.
Not succumb to it.
And that's what you're doing for Bernadine.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm doing for my son.
Yeah.
Because in truth, we are, again, all that same fractaled pieces of the consciousness, and they live on through our flesh.
Yeah, 100%.
So I know we've got to wrap it up. So there's a few more questions, but I just want to ask this one last question. It's very important. So take your time thinking.
Oh, take my time. I don't know.
A person dead or alive, who would you have dinner with and why?
Oh, wow. Well, Jesus.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I mean, I actually have a list, but
Yes, I'm sure you do. But
I could tell you a few I'd like around the table, right?
yes.
But yeah, Jesus. I like to ask him a lot of these questions that we're talking about right now.
Yes. Where would you take him to dinner?
Oh, probably Buck and Rogers.
Awesome. I think I might take him out to like the desert and have a little desert party.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I'll go
pass
there
around
with you.
some vegetables.
I'll go there with you.
Right.
He would like that, probably.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'd ever been to Buck and Rogers, too, so I might take him there.
Yeah, I don't think I've been there either. So,
Oh.
I guess
Okay.
we should all be going.
It's exceptional. Best fish and best,
Yes,
overall.
yes.
It's
So,
a fun place.
One supplement you would recommend for everyone and one food that you would recommend for
Oh,
everyone.
my gosh. You mean one?
Just one. I know you take about 70 supplements. But what's the one you can't live without? Like if you don't have it with you, you're like, "Oh man."
I like nitric oxide a lot.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, lozenges. They're amazing. Dr. Brian.
Yeah.
And he produced or created this new way of delivery of this nitric oxide. And and I get, do a lot of different things.
Sure.
But I could tell a remarkable difference when I started taking that. Opens up your vascular system.
Yes. Yes.
Which is so important. Energizes your kidneys, many things. But I mean, in idea, I think they're both about pretty equal.
It's funny. I just read a study that you're humming. When you hum, it releases nitrous oxide in the nose, and you're supposed to go. And if you think about it,
I hum a lot. Yeah, sweet.
We're breathing in the nitrous oxide.
So Shante,
something we've been doing forever. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Okay, I can go on that one. And then the one food.
I guess I'm hesitating so much because I've been changing
there's so many.
my diet around right now too. I'm doing more. Well, I've been doing it for a little bit to what's called Dr. I don't know if you know Dr. Michael Rose, but he created a very unique paleo program that he says theoretically he's proven it. He's proven the data on it that it can take you what he calls the immortal plateau. But that's a whole other thing.
So would you say high energy foods, raw foods?
Yeah, high energy food, raw food.
Yeah, I agree.
I do like meat once in a while, fish, but
yes, I totally agree. Because again, what we put in our body is what our body becomes.
Yeah, we have to do a high energy food,
Yes.
preferably as pesticide and toxic free as possible.
Absolutely.
People don't realize that they say, well, I'll eat it once in a while. They don't realize how cumulative toxins are. So you've been accumulating all your life. So you got to cleanse those out along with taking.
Cleanse it out, absolutely. And that's going to be. We'll have another podcast all about eating.
Clean and nourish. Clean and nourish.
Well, this is Kimberly Tocco, Tenacious Tea with
James R Strole.
And how do they find you?
They can go to www.peopleunlimitedinc.com. That's our website here in town for People Unlimited. We meet regularly, as you know, twice a week and have amazing events and longevity. Everybody's welcome. Love to have you there. It's complimentary.
Available on Zoom.
Also, you can come on Zoom, stream it. Then also 480-220-7182. And that's 480-220-7182, and get information if they need to from the office. And
love it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you so much. You're beautiful. Appreciate your time.
Bye-bye.
James, can you give our audience some practical advice on what they can do in their own lives on a daily basis?
Yeah, great. I'm glad you asked that, Bruce. I was talking a little earlier about how someone can believe in something, but unless that belief, to me, is taken beyond, just the believing in, then it falls flat, and an individual never can really consummate all the visions they see of a better life, much less a better world.
Great.
And so, first of all, I would like to say that it's important to believe in physical mortality, okay? But at the same time, then beyond that is making a connection with other people, with other individuals who feel that too, who encourage them to live. And so that's what the main thing right now that I can tell anybody is to make that connection with other people. We're available.